Greetings, this is Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I have drifted into the underworld. The Star Wars Underworld. I have a bad feeling about this.
Here we go. We must go to the lower levels. The underworld.
You've taken your first step into a larger world.
You're after something.
Ben.
Since I've started the underworld, I've met so many great friends.
Chris.
I grew up in the 1990s, and mall packaging is nostalgic for me.
Dominic.
What I love most about Star Wars is that it's fun, and it's all-around good times.
So, this is where the fun begins.
May the Force be with us.
This thing really moves!
Whoa! I like this!
I can't believe you came all this way to see me.
Why am I not in the intro? I gotta come up with a snappy line.
What's up, Star Wars fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Star Wars Underworld Podcast. We are your source for the latest breaking Star Wars news, reviews, and discussion each and every week. And this week on the show, we've got an exciting report about a returning character in Ahsoka. The Mandalorian actress Misty Rosas chats with Hannah, our very own Hannah, about her experience on the series, and we have a grab bag of fun Star Wars goodies from the last 2 weeks. All that and much, much more on this episode. My name is Chris, and joining me is my good friend, Mr. Dominic Jones.
Hello, Chris. Hello, Ben. Hello, Hannah. Hello, everybody. It is good to be back for this show. We obviously took a week off last week. I missed the week previous, and I'll be missing next week too. But I'm glad to be here right now. I'm very glad to be here in this moment for this show for this week to talk all about all things Star Wars. Even though there was no show last week, Star Wars still has a way of following all of us around. And for me, it took the form of an interaction when I had to actually go into the bank, which is like the worst thing to have to do. But I went in, and naturally I was wearing a Star Wars t-shirt, and the bank teller, she saw the Star Wars shirt. She goes, "Oh, are you a Star Wars fan?" And I said, "No, I just wear the shirt." And I said, "No, actually, yes, I am. I love Star Wars." And she goes, "Oh yeah, I love Star Wars." And God love her. She said she loves Star Wars, and she really tried to prove her bona fides to me, saying things like, "I really enjoyed the one where he what's that guy's name, that Canadian actor, where he becomes Dark Vader. I really like that one. That one's my favorite."
Wow.
One. And this interaction that we had was bookended with this financial transaction that I'm making with all these sort of vague allusions to Star Wars things. And then at the end of the conversation, most Star Wars conversations end with, "May the Force be with you," right? That's what you say when you meet a fellow Star Wars fan. And I thought she was going to say that to me, but instead she said to me, "Continue to enjoy Star Wars." And I thought, what a wonderfully profound, nice,
so good. I'm going to use that.
Excellent way to end a conversation with a Star Wars fan, because that's what we need to do. You're not going to love everything, sure, but you got to have fun with it. So continue to enjoy Star Wars. And that's what we're going to do here this week and every other week. We're going to continue to enjoy Star Wars, talking about all this fun news and craziness we got going on. It's going to be a great show.
So excited. Also joining us, it's Ben Hart, the Star Wars guy.
How's it going, everybody? Yeah, I was on vacation last week, which is part of the reason why we took a week off. And while I was out, weirdly got obsessed with two Lucasfilm properties that are not Star Wars. The first being, I actually finally caught up on Willow.
Yes.
I had not seen anything Willow. I had nothing in regards to a reference point in regards to that franchise. So finally, after how many months that show's been out, like found 2 hours to just kind of kill and actually watch the movie, and I watched the series after it, and I can say confidently that I'm a Willow fan now. That was great. The movie was great. The show was great.
One of us.
It was all like surprisingly well. And I'd already heard like really good things, but I was like surprised. Usually I hear good things and I'm like, I was kind of let down. Like, no. Willow lives up to the hype, I can say.
When you finished watching it, Ben, did you go, "You are great"?
Well, I wasn't saying quite that, because I got 2 episodes to the end and Disney Plus took it off, and I had no way to finish it. So I was in a panic for about 24 hours until and shout out to everyone. I can't possibly name everyone because there were several people, but a lot of people reached out with ways to watch it that weren't on Disney Plus. And I was able to finish it there.
It was naturally it was naturally a DVD box set, right, Ben? That's what we're talking about here.
That's
DVD
where
box
it was.
They sell those at Walmart. Yeah. So totally.
I mean,
Another thing that I'm go ahead.
I was going to say, we're going to cover more of that, what you're talking about later on in the show, because interesting things going on
now.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Things are going on in this world.
And one other thing before I promise, Hannah, you will get to speak at some point tonight.
No, that's all right.
Another
I'll keep waiting. I'll keep waiting. It's all good. You go ahead.
Think you have something witty to say.
No, I'm just biding my time. It's all good.
Another thing I'm getting obsessed with is good old your cousin Dominic, Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
We got Dial of Destiny coming out this week, not this week, this month, and you maybe have looked online and go, wait, where has the Star Wars Underworld gone on social medias? It's just nowhere to be seen. That iconic logo and everything, it's just gone. Where is it gone? No need to fear, ladies and gentlemen. I just have to make this announcement. We have transitioned. We have turned into something completely different on the socials. You will notice it is actually the Indie Underground now. This is a little tongue-in-cheek thing that I came up with myself. Didn't consult anyone. Did it all on my own. And so obviously Indie, we're focusing on Indie for the month of June because the movie's coming out. And then we also, Underground is a reference to the fact that for so many years and so many times we have been referred to as the Star Wars Underground. And I just think it's so freaking hilarious. So I thought, well, okay, we'll actually become the Underground for a little bit, embrace it. Also, fun fact, we were almost the Underground because that was literally it was almost the Underground instead of the Underworld. But the rest, they say, is history. So yeah, go follow the Indie Underground. And also, we'll be transitioning the podcast next week. So I'm just letting you all guys know that this is the last week you will ever have to talk about Star Wars on this podcast. So get it all out of your system. We're making the moves next week. It's going to be fun.
Continue to enjoy Indiana Jones, as the saying goes.
Love that one.
Oh man, it's a whole month of that. I was like, when I first saw that, I'm like, wait a minute, is it coming out next week? Did I totally miss this? And I'm like, no, it's still a month away. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. And yes, also joining us from the Raeside, it's Hannah.
You got anything else, Ben? You want any last words?
I do actually.
Anything else to add?
Ben's got some thoughts on Radioland Murders next, and Strange Magic.
Howard the Duck.
Howard the
Underground.
Duck. A few other Lucasfilm projects.
In July.
Oh,
there you go.
G'day there. Great to be here. Feels like it's been like a year since we've done this podcast. I was like, who are you folk again? Who are you guys? No, but it's great to be here. Sure, we'll get into this week. So I don't even know what we're getting into, but it's gonna be great. I know. I don't know why I make a point of that. I don't think I've ever checked the notes for a podcast for this podcast.
Hannah just likes to be surprised. She likes to just come in here.
I
and
like
go,
it.
What are we talking about
It's
this week?
fresh. You get my real-time reactions and thoughts.
It's like listening to a podcast and also being on the podcast at the same time. Because anyone who's listened to a podcast has had that moment where you're listening to it and you want to talk back to the hosts and you're like, yes, I agree with that point. Here's the other thing. Or no, you morons. That's not what that means. And you actually get to do that because you're like, I don't know what's happening next. It could be anything.
What
all I know
wonderfully thrilling story.
Hannah, just put in the notes.
Yeah.
Just put in the notes. I'll never know.
Oh man,
she'll never know.
All right.
Let me just say one thing real quick, Chris. This is a plug, so I'm just jumping the gun.
I was gonna say plug time.
Plug time. Well, you know what? I think we should do this plug first because I didn't get to be here for the last one of these, but I want to show my enthusiasm for it, and that's Ask the SWU. I'm so excited for this. I've seen there's a few questions already. And how is it you get involved? Is Super Chat or you Discord? Those are the things. If you're down with the kids, you Discord your questions in. If you've got a lot of Riz.
Yeah.
Wow.
If you're hella fleek and you want to get some Riz, you go to the Star Wars Underworld Discord.
We want to hear your base takes.
And Ben's gonna make a
Dubs,
get ready with me
Dubs
video
in the chat.
tomorrow.
Dubs in the chat for this.
No, I'm not being pressured into this.
Yes, that's right. We've got a segment coming up after we get to the news where we're going to interact with the audience. So if you're listening after the fact and you want to be involved in that, joining the SWU Discord is how you can do that. We've got a section for Ask SWU over there. And if you're live, you can super chat. And we already have one super chat already queued up, ready to go. If you want to queue up some more, you can right now. And of course, we can interact real time with your super chats when we get to that segment. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you punch that subscribe button, Chewy. You can also become a channel member over here, get a special badge when you're commenting, and support us on a monthly basis. And make sure that you subscribe to this feed if you just found us on your favorite podcast app, and leave us a review too if it lets you do that. That would be awesome. And make sure you check out all the other shows on the Star Wars Underworld Network as well while you're at it. They can be found on this YouTube channel, Ion Cannon, Hannah's YouTube channel, The Raeside, RAE Side, and on Twitch, where you can find Tales from Beyond the Galaxy. All right.
All right. Well, we'll get into the news first, and then we'll in a little bit we'll. Oh, good. Good. I'm glad you're excited. I'm glad
I
you're
want to
excited.
know what's happened.
News.
Well, you might not be. You might not be so excited when we start with our first story, which unfortunately, this was last week. The world lost Ray Stevenson, the actor who starred in a couple of Star Wars animated series, and who we're going to see in one of his final performances in the Ahsoka series. Dave Filoni, creator and executive producer of the Ahsoka series, he put out a statement on StarWars.com saying, "We have lost a great talent and a friend in Ray Stevenson. His kindness and generosity were felt by our entire team on Ahsoka. I always looked forward to working with Ray, and I appreciated his insight and daily wisdom. I'm glad his memory will live on through his friends, families, and the many characters he created. Thank you, Ray, for everything." Really, obviously our thoughts are with his friends, his family. I gather his death was quite sudden. It wasn't something that people were, sort of preparing themselves for. It's it puts an extra sort of layer of specialness to the Ahsoka series, a show that is already very special to a lot of people without even having come out, that this is going to be one of his final performances. So I'm sure the series will be dedicated to his memory in some way or another, in one of, at least beginning or ending one of the episodes that way. But just terrible news, and real, and we'll put a little bit of a cloud over the promotion for this series. Now it's not just, wasn't it fun to work with Ray Stevenson? It's remembering Ray Stevenson throughout the whole thing, which we should. But yeah, any thoughts from you all?
It's just
I was gonna say I haven't really seen him in much prior, so I'm very much looking forward to his performance.
Yeah, it's just really sad, just and very just shocking. Like, I know we experienced the loss of a lot of different celebrities. Some affected me more than others. And Ray's hit me really hard. Just the fact that we just saw him at Celebration. He was so full of life and was just really excited and just things. And this is his second time around with Star Wars. He did really brilliant job as Gar Saxon. I really like that character. And he's got a storied career all on his own outside of Star Wars. He's one of the Warriors 3 and Thor movies. Was the Punisher once upon a time. A lot of really great roles, a lot of memorable. I think it was Blackbeard. I think Black Sails, one of the shows. yeah, just a lot of very memorable roles, and seeing the outpouring of people just talking about, hey, I remember from this, remember from that, and just seeing like, oh my gosh, how much of a legend this guy is, and just so sad to just lose him and also lose him so suddenly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, yeah, we seeing him on stage at Celebration virtually, or if you were there, was you could really feel his enthusiasm and passion as a creative. And he was on the fan stage for a little while with Lars Mikkelsen, and just, but yeah, that the emotion of Lars being there, and the fact that he was alongside Ray, and yeah, the fans were just going crazy for them, with Ray there. And I think, yeah, you could really feel Ray's gratitude and just the happiness to be a part of that Star Wars family. The fandom, as much as it has bad things, I think there's a lot of positives, and I think we all very much embraced Ray. And yeah, it's like you said, Dom, I think it's going to be so sad. The excitement and joy of the Ahsoka show is going to be so overwhelming, and we're all so excited. But it does have this sort of cloud to it now of it's remembering and honoring his kind of talent and contribution to the show. But hopefully that can be that's a happy thing that we can kind of honor and celebrate his talent with.
Absolutely, yeah. It's still. That's the thing about this, is as tragic as it is, there's still like this little gift that's been left behind, which is the Ahsoka series that, we'll still get to enjoy his performance posthumously. Don't think I said that word right. But later this year when that series premieres. How about something more upbeat about the Ahsoka
Let's
series?
Do that.
Let's do that. Let's do a hard turn here.
Love a good hard turn.
This is I don't think this is going to count as a spoiler, but maybe it does. I don't know. I'm sure you'll tell us in the comments if you think it's a spoiler or not. Temuera Morrison. Rumor has it, according to One Take News, that Temuera Morrison is back in Star Wars, in Ahsoka, playing Captain Rex.
Wow.
Rex. It's they say it's unclear if it's in flashbacks or the present timeline, or if he's going to play any other clones in the series, but that's what One Take News is reporting. What do we think? Ben, I'll throw it to you first.
Yeah, so I was actually thinking about this prior to this little rumor coming about, because we had a little dust up a few weeks ago with Tem Morison. Obviously, yeah, you're right. But like there was this thing that came about where, obviously Tem Morison was at a Comic-Con, I think it was in Australia, where he was just saying a bunch of stuff, and it wasn't like on video, it was like transcribed like text, like his quotes. And it was obviously like, if you read it in his voice, it was meant to be kind of jokey, but a lot of people were taking this as like he was throwing shade at Lucasfilm, which maybe he was. I don't know. I wasn't there. I didn't hear him say it, but I've heard Tem Morrison speak a lot, and he is very jokey. He's talking about, all this about, they didn't ask me back for Mandalorian season 3, and this guy with the darksaber came up and, took over my show and whatever else. And I just took that as like, yeah, he probably would have loved to be in Mando season 3, and he obviously wants to come back, but I'm not sure I totally buy the idea that he hasn't already come back for something, because Tem Morrison himself for years has been banging that drum of playing Captain Rex in live action. He has said this long before The Mandalorian ever came about. He was the one saying, yes, I would love to do that, because I think a million people asked him. But, I think he genuinely was interested in doing it, and it seemed like the perfect thing. After Boba Fett, why not? There's plenty of clones he could play, especially in this era, but Captain Rex is obviously the favorite, and I think it'll be perfect. And this makes total sense to me that like this is happening. You're having a Rebels reunion, and you're having someone who is, and you're not only having a Rebels reunion, you're having a Clone Wars reunion, which you're having Ahsoka, potentially having Hayden Christensen back as Anakin. You're having a situation where some characters that are very pivotal in Ahsoka's life showing up. Rex is near the top, so this just makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Hannah, what do you think of this?
Yeah, I think I echo a lot of what Ben you're saying there of like, yeah, his comments, there was that big period of trying to read into what he was saying there. But I think there's possibility that he has been on set and filming things without, before saying that, and he's just with his comments, he never mentioned anything else really. He just talked about Mando and yeah, I think it's a real strong possibility. I think just knowing Dave and like if just putting all the dots together, like it feels right that his character would probably show up in the show. And yeah, I really think this is one of the rumors. Like you kind of hear rumors sometimes and you just go, that would be brilliant, but that's not going to happen. But this rumor, I just have such a good gut feeling about. Like it's all logical and doable. He's available. He's got so far good terms with Lucasfilm and they might not be maybe per se continuing his show of Boba Fett, but I definitely think they would have loved him to come and be their live action Rex. So yeah, I've got faith that this will be real.
Yeah. Do we think like I don't think I was there for the week where we talked about his comments. Do we think there's a possibility that was him deflecting and trying to cover up the fact that he has actually done a whole other series? It's just not more Boba Fett. And so he's saying, yeah, well, nobody's called me. Why haven't I come back? Because that's the thing they always say. They say, somebody should call me. Nobody's called me. Lars Mikkelsen was saying, nobody's called me, a week before he showed up on stage at Celebration. So it almost sounds like that might have been Tem going, hey, in his Tem style, going like, yeah, hey, I don't know what's going on.
That's so true. We spent months debunking, like, Lars is not it. He's, like, said definitely no to being Thrawn. Like, Lars is absolutely not going to be Thrawn. I remember, like, I've spent months of that thinking. And then he, like, walks out of Celebration. I'm like,
don't forget, do not forget the fact that Andrew Garfield was definitely not in that new Spider-Man movie. Definitely was not. So,
and Benedict Cumberbatch was not into darkness, and he was not playing Khan.
But I mean, we also have to remember, like, these people are actors. They can act. Like, that's literally their job, is to say stuff that they don't mean. So, like, are we really surprised when they say stuff on stage that
Hollywood is a business of people who have gotten rich lying? That's what acting is lying. So why are we surprised that they lie to us about being in things?
Especially when you have Dave Filoni as a boss, who is just all about that.
He's a master of it. Chris, your thoughts on Tem as Rex in Ahsoka?
I was so excited. I don't know why this has taken so long. We've had so many cameos in these shows. Like Rex is, such a major character in Star Wars. I would have almost expected him to have shown up with Ahsoka, because we've seen Ahsoka now a few times. So, this is great. Super excited. It sounds like pretty much the whole cast of Rebels is coming back. Everybody who's alive. So super stoked for this. This is awesome. This is really cool.
Yeah, there's two things that confirm it for me that have nothing to do with the story itself. One being, as you all have pointed out, the cast of Rebels is basically back. Like the characters you see throughout that trailer, there are shots in it that are just live action Rebels. You've got Chopper, you've got Ahsoka, you've got Sabine, you've got Hera. We saw Zeb over in The Mandalorian. Like they're all back. We even see a hologram of Ezra in the trailer. Like everybody's back. Rex was basically part of that crew by the end. Makes sense that he's back. Makes sense that Dave Filoni wants to bring him back. But the other thing is, I could envision a version of the world where this doesn't happen because Lucasfilm doesn't want Tem playing too many roles and confusing the audience, quote unquote. But he's already done it. He showed up in Obi-Wan Kenobi as the homeless clone trooper for one scene. And so this is all, the precedent has been set that Temuera Morrison is going to pop up as multiple characters in these shows. And Rex and Boba Fett they're going to look different. Rex is probably going to have his beard from Rebels, and he'll look more Santa Claus-ish than Boba Fett did with his clean shaven bald head, all that stuff. So I think this is I think this is happening. There's no doubt in my mind. And now it's just a matter of what role is Rex going to play in the show.
They're clones. Everybody knows they're clones. What they expect them to not look the same? Like I don't understand why this is controversial at all.
And I mean, like Tim's first outing in Star Wars was playing a bunch of clones. Like there's literally like a million of him on screen in Attack of the Clones. Like, just if you're confused, just go back and watch that movie that's on Disney Plus right now.
That movie that's on Disney Plus for now. Yeah. No,
don't you dare say things like that. Okay, don't give them any ideas.
I'm just saying. Yeah. No. Obviously, it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be an issue, and it isn't an issue. But I can envision a boardroom sitting around going like, will people believe that he's playing multiple characters? I don't know.
It's amazing. We all have so little faith in movie executives that we sit around and think up ideas, like the worst ideas that they might have. Like that's our pastime.
Yeah. But the reality is there are some smart ones running this show, namely Dave Filoni, Kathleen Kennedy, Jon Favreau. And I think they trust their audience, and this is something I think Dave would want to do, and he's going to push for it. And now, like I said, the question really is now, like, what role does Rex play in this story? What does he do? Is he sort of part of the New Republic? Is he on that kind of side of it? Is he joining Ahsoka and Sabine for the alluded to adventure to rescue Ezra? Is he doing something else? Is he got, we got kind of a look in Rebels at what retirement looks like for Rex, where he was fishing with Wolf and Gregor. Maybe he goes back to a life like that and gets drawn back into the story again. I don't know. But it's going to be fun to see no matter what. And it's going to be fun to have Tem at Celebration again.
Yeah, just any excuse to get him back at Celebration. I think it also makes sense just in the context of like the trailers. I was very surprised with the Ahsoka trailer, how much they showed us. Like I thought Hera and Sabine would be something they would hold back and not show. I think that would be Ahsoka heavy, but they leaned heavily into, yes, this is not just Ahsoka's show. This is a Rebels reunion. This is all about those characters and the people around Ahsoka at this period of time. So I think they're also going to have some surprises left in store for us. I think Rex would be one.
I look at the Ahsoka trailer and I look at how much better and more exciting it is for fans than like the Book of Boba Fett trailer or any of the Mandalorian trailers. And I just think about how, I think that trailer was made with Star Wars Celebration in mind. It was made with the thought of, let's give something to the people that are here or the people that are watching the live stream. There's something that the things that are going to pop for them are, here are the Rebels characters coming back. Here's a quick shot of Mon Mothma. Here are these things that feel familiar, that people can get excited about seeing brought back in a new way. Whereas the Mandalorian trailers and the Book of Boba Fett trailer, and even the Kenobi trailers, like to a large extent, felt like they were just sort of made to be seen on TV and made to be seen as someone's clicking through YouTube going, "Ooh, look, Obi-Wan Kenobi. I haven't now that's a name I've not heard in a long time." Like that kind of thing. Whereas that Ahsoka trailer was like, there are applause moments built into this thing where people are going to cheer and go wild. And so like those reveals, Ben, that you're talking about, I think they were made because Celebration was happening, and they knew thousands of people in London were going to be losing their minds in a theater.
And also me in bed at 4 a.m.
I mean, that too, absolutely. That too.
That's what they were considering.
Yeah. Sticking with the Mando verse or the New Republic era of storytelling,
the Mandalorian saga.
Yeah, none of these things have quite the ring to them that they think they should. But we've got the writers for Skeleton Crew. They were revealed this week on the WGA website, not on picket signs, although that would have been a pretty good way to reveal them. Just the writers go around, "I wrote Skeleton Crew, pay me properly." We've got 4 episodes, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Those are written by Christopher Ford and John Watts, the co-showrunner. Episodes 5 and 6 were written by young Josh Wessner. And then episode 7 and 8 written by Christopher Ford and John Watts. So very much their project. They're like, this is our show. You all just have to, we're going to write, I guess, 2/3 of it or 3/4 of it. And we'll get someone else. We'll get some other guy to write
two
the
episodes are in the middle are where Din and Grogu show up and take over the show.
Yeah, that other name is just Jon Favreau's pen name. He's like, I don't want to be accused of taking over another show, so I'm going to invent somebody and say that he wrote these episodes.
They're on to us.
Yeah,
man, that's exciting. So, what is like our best estimate of the release date for the show at this point?
August 31st.
No, that's Ahsoka. I think August 31st.
December 31st.
Yeah.
There you go. I was gonna say that.
Like anytime they give you like a window, like a month or a year, just like aim for like the very end of that. Like we're like Book of Boba Fett 2021, the end of the 2021.
December 27th. That's the last Wednesday of the year.
There we go.
That's my guess.
My grandma's birthday.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Here's 2 days later as a Star Wars project. Yeah, I will say, like, Chris Ford, John Watts, very, like, whatever else I might want to say about them. Very talented writers, very talented directors. Like the two of them, the fact that they're writing this show, I do think bodes well for its for the quality of its writing. I do think that those Spider-Man movies that they wrote are just phenomenal, and their other work is pretty great too.
Yeah, and the thing is with like the Marvel movies, I've had my qualms with how like Peter Parker was written in some of the movies, particularly the Avengers movies. Like it like some of his lines sound like, oh, this is what an adult thinks a teenager sounds like. But it's not the case for the Spider-Man movies. Like that trilogy is solid, and he sounds like, and obviously it's the portrayal. It's Tom Holland, but happy birthday, Tom Holland, because it's his birthday today. But like it's selling it, but also there's got to be on the page, as we've learned with the writer strike. It's got to be on the page, and I think their writing is really well, especially doing younger people.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Continuing with the Mando verse. What about, we've seen Luke Skywalker pop up a couple of times. And I know a lot of people are thinking he might show up into that movie that's definitely titled Heir to the Empire. What does Mark Hamill think about this idea, though? Because it's him being digitally de-aged. What does he think about this? Well, he did a big, long interview with Esquire magazine this week, where he talked about his career, and of course there's lots of Star Wars in there. It's a really great read from start to finish, but the important part about the future of Luke Skywalker is this. He was asked about the possibility of being in the movie, of doing more stories, and he said, quote, "People say, oh wow, now you're going to be able to do a whole series of Luke post Return of the Jedi." I said, I don't think so. First of all, they don't need to tell those stories, but if they do, they could get an age-appropriate actor. Much like Temuera Morrison on stage at Australia Comic-Con, I think this is Mark Hamill covering up the fact that he's already signed on to be Luke in more stories and be digitally de-aged. Like, I can't see that not happening. Once you've opened up that door, Luke is going to play a role in this era, in these stories. The fact that he trained Grogu for some time between 6 weeks and 2 years, and just the way they left things in that Book of Boba Fett episode between him and Ahsoka. I mean, it wouldn't shock me if he's in the Ahsoka series, and it wouldn't shock me if he has a not insignificant role in the Dave Filoni movie. But I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think it's just one of those comments where it is a 50-50. That's how it is, and that's what he thinks, and that's what's happening, or that is the perfectly curated cover-up of him being involved. We'll talk to Chris later.
Chris just vanished from the call.
He's just appalled by the idea of Luke not returning.
Couldn't stand the concept. He's like,
couldn't stand it.
Hang up.
But yeah, I think it's just one of those things that's so 50-50 of it.
Jesse.
I don't know.
Jesse in the chat puts it this way: something there, or make a relax. So is there something? What do we think? Is there something here? Is Mark covering up, or should we all make a relax because he's just running his mouth the way he so often does?
I mean, I think based on what we're seeing with Indiana Jones, I think de-aging is the way to go. Like I think we're going to see less and less recasting every single year to the point where it's almost unheard of.
Yeah. I mean, at what point this goes beyond Star Wars? But at what point did people just start going, "Do we need new actors?" Just in general, let's.
That's going to happen. I mean,
create Humphrey Bogart.
I feel like Jon Favreau said something about this like 5 or 10 years ago in some interview or on one of the Disney galleries or something. But like I've put forth this theory too. I think there's going to be a point where we're going to stop having new actors, like because actors very much do sell things. Like, you're more likely to see a Pirates of the Caribbean movie if it has Johnny Depp in it, less likely if it doesn't. And so I feel like they're going to be pushing for contracts now where, if you're going to make the money and you're going to be in the big movies, you're going to have to sign away your rights to have your image used through that. And I'm curious to see if, I think SAG might potentially get involved in the strike stuff too.
Yeah.
I'm hearing. Yeah. And I know that, getting AI out of writing is a big point in the WGA stuff. It's the writers' strike. So for the SAG strike, which would be the Screen Actors Guild, the actors, they might try to push towards some rules around this that, you can't maybe force or coerce, actors to sign away their likeness. If they want to, be, if they want to be in a movie, they can be in a movie without having to consent to being de-aged and put in other things, posthumously and like all this stuff. I'm curious to see how that goes. Because if that doesn't happen, if the ship is sailed, it's sailed. Like if they don't put forth rules about that now, I just know like they're gonna make everybody sign something if they haven't already. Where it's just like when you're done making movies, your body might be done, but your likeness is not done making movies, and they're just gonna motion capture somebody else playing you or something.
Yeah, I mean, Star Wars is kind of right at the epicenter of this. They kind of started it with Tarkin and Rogue One, and then Leia in Episode 9. I know they say it was just deleted scenes, but come on. The ILM even put out a VFX breakdown of how they incorporated that footage into it. That's a recreated Carrie Fisher. And now, the stuff with Luke, digitally de-aging him for Mandalorian. And as you pointed out, Chris, Harrison's doing the same thing with Indy. And, I've been pushing that if Han Solo were to start showing up in this stuff, I want it to be Alden Ehrenreich. But damn, you look at those quick shots in the Indy trailer, and I can't imagine someone like Jon Favreau, who's already super invested in this stuff, going, I can't imagine him not going, oh, I want that. Yeah, let's greenlight Book of Boba Fett season 2 just so we can have that in our show.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see like how the technology develops, because you read the interview with Hamill and he's very like, he's talking about going back to Last Jedi and being like, hey, I'm kind of done with Luke Skywalker. He saw right on the page that Luke's going to die, and then he kind of just made peace with it and tried to move on. And then they brought him back for Mandalorian, and obviously he came back. And part of the process of what that was like him doing it with the other actor and kind of performing the scene, and them taking all that reference footage and kind of putting it all together into one final performance with the stand-in. It's like, if Hamill's done, which you can't blame him, he's been there, done that. He's come back as Luke Skywalker like 5 times. He's doing other stuff. He doesn't need Luke anymore. But they have all the reference material they could possibly need. Like, do they even need Mark to do it anymore? Can they just get the stand-in and just do it, and maybe Mark comes in for a day of voiceover, and that's it. Like, they don't even have to do that. They've done it with done the voice stuff with Vader like recently, and a lot of the stuff in Book of Boba Fett and Mandalorian was recreation. So like at this point, they don't need him. They can just do Luke and that, and that is Lucasfilm way of leading the way on this. I personally agree with Mark Hamill here. I wish they would just for nothing else, for the sake of the poor animators that have to sit there for every single shot for thousands of hours and do this, like, just get an actor and just do it so they can be there. And it's not this whole debate about, does he look right or does he not look right? And blah, 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 blah. I know it's the future. I know this stuff's here to stay. The genie's out of the bottle, but, it's hard watching this stow and not pulling yourself out of it and going like, okay, how am I reacting to this emotionally? And how am I reacting to this, like, technically, of like, do I actually believe this is Luke Skywalker? I kind of hate having those thoughts. I kind of hate having these conversations. I wish we could just have an actor and just do it for, if you want to do a cameo with the AI, that's fine. I mean, the thing is, Ben, like, I'm with you. I'm pro recasting over recreations. But even if they did cast a reactor, we'd be sitting here going, now, would Hamill have done this scene that way? Would he have lifted his eyebrow in that way? Or would he have tilted his head differently? Like, we'd find something else to microanalyze. Don't get me. Yeah, go ahead. But I will say, like, for me, I've kind of, when they were doing the Tarkin stuff in Rogue One, I was kind of like cheering them on. Like, I wanted to see that done. I wanted to see how they could do it. I wanted, because prior to Solo, I was against recasting. I wanted everything. I wanted Star Wars to be history. And so for it to be history, you have to have the same, you have to have that sort of linear progression through the performances. And then I saw Alden as Han, and I thought, no, that guy's Han. He can play Han all the time. Anytime he wants, in whatever era. Original trilogy, pre-original trilogy, post-original trilogy. Hell, he can come back when he's 70 and do a sequel trilogy era Han Solo performance to go alongside Harrison in The Force Awakens. And since then, I've been wishing that they would go more in that direction. But they seem to be invested in the, this AI recreation stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I have a very kind of like balanced take for the whole thing. Like, on one hand, like, I understand the concerns about AI, and I want to make sure that, like, people working in the industry are protected and their jobs are protected and everything. But on the other hand, like, I very much recognize that you can't put, genies back in bottles, cats back in bags. Like, it's just like, after they added sound to cinema, saying, okay, now we need to go back and get rid of sound because so many actors don't want to talk. It's just like, it is moving the industry forward, and you can't undo technology that's working and, making things that you couldn't make otherwise. And so, very much like, I think older forms of technology will always settle into a niche. Like, there's always going to be a niche for making movies on film rather than digitally capturing them. There's always going to be a niche.
Every couple of years, a silent movie comes out.
I was going to say, there's always a niche for a silent movie or a black and white shot movie. And there's always going to be a niche for a movie done with actors and no digital retouching and enhancements, and that's always going to be a thing.
What a sad idea that actors are going to become niche.
I know, but it's the case. Like, the big budget movies, the big blockbusters, we're going to be seeing, I think, Harrison Ford on screen, if he agrees to it, forever. And I think, there's always someone's going to bring Indiana, even though this is the last Indiana Jones films, somebody's going to bring it back in 50 years and 100 years and 150 years as an AI without question. And if they can get the legal ability to do so. So again, the big thing is protecting people in the industry, making sure that whoever's working on this stuff is being paid fairly, because the last thing that we want is for the industry to use their leverage as an industry that so many people want to be a part of to pay people, nothing as interns or really horrible wages to work just absurd hours working on this AI stuff and all of the digital edits to these things, and then have the studios just raking in profits off the top to give to the investors and to not pay the creatives actually working on it. Like, that's why the negotiations are so incredibly important. I don't know where the actors are going to land in that, but to give a nuanced take, I think that, there's going to be a little bit less space for them in big budget movies and a little bit more space for people working the pipeline of motion capture and CGI and AI.
Yeah, it'll be fascinating to see. Just think of the fan films someday. You literally will have Harrison Ford in your Star Wars fan film.
Yeah.
Fascinating time.
I mean, the big difference, the one that I'm expecting to see is, they had the Bandersnatch film on Netflix, which I haven't watched actually, but it's like a choose your own adventure movie. I believe that that's what movies are going to be in 50 years. Like, this might be kind of some of the last things that we watch, but our kids and our grandkids in the next few generations, that's what's going to become the norm for them.
We'll be sitting in a theater someday going, back in my day, they didn't let you choose what happened next in the story. They just told it to you. They didn't ask me to do anything. I just had to sit there and relax.
And it's not just as intense as that too. It's actually even further than that. Like, you're not just going to be.
I don't want to wear these goggles over my eyes while I watch my movies.
Oh,
I don't need to know what's happening behind me.
You're going to have something in your brain for that by that.
I don't need to know what was happening behind me. Just show me what the camera was.
Oh my gosh. Yes. But
I don't know who this character is, but I don't
know the great Luddite grandpa. But so what's gonna happen is you're basically gonna say, I want to see Heir to the Empire. Like, if you stick around long enough, we're gonna see Timothy Zahn's Heir to the Empire as a movie. It's going to happen. It's going to probably be about 50 to 100 years, down the line. But it's going to happen because what they're going to do is they're going to have the AI likenesses of all the characters in that film, or they could generate them if they're new off their description from the internet. You just plug in, I want to see Heir to the Empire, and it will generate the movie for you. And you're just going to watch it. That's what's going to happen. People aren't ready for this.
We could even see, George Lucas's sequel trilogy that way. Someone steals George's outlines, puts it into the George Lucas AI bot, has his 20-page outlines turned into 2-hour scripts, and then
it's too stressful.
Animated away. We've got
you can already watch Colin Trevorrow's in episode 9 in multiple different ways on YouTube. So all I gotta do is get the script out there.
I mean, again, we went from our parents, when they were kids, there were like flying saucers were made out of like aluminum plates and string practically. We went from that in their lifetime to Avengers Endgame. So imagine what we're going to see. Just imagine that we're just going to get slightly better 3D in our lifetime. No, it's stuff that our brains can't even process right now is what we're going to be seeing and what our kids are going to be seeing. So it's tough because it's, you don't want to see it was very much that nostalgia for the old ways of doing things and what they hung all that Force Awakens advertising marketing campaign on. Like, people, it's tough to accept the fact that things are changing, but it's like they've always been changing. And we can't get too comfortable with where things are at.
In my day, there was only one sequel trilogy. There wasn't no Duel of the Fates or George Lucas or Heir to the Empire. There was episode 9. It was called The Rise of Skywalker, and everybody was a Palpatine.
Everybody was forced to watch it.
Somehow Palpatine returned. Cloning, dark science, secrets only the Sith knew. I tell you. Back in my day. Okay. Let's move on. Let's talk about another Star Wars movie. Not one of the ones that was announced at Celebration, but one that was actually predates the Celebration announcements. That's Taika Waititi's Star Wars movie. He was interviewed by The Hollywood Reporter this week. Another kind of sort of like the Mark Hamill feature in Esquire. This Taika was featured by Hollywood Reporter, and they asked him, what's going on with your Star Wars movie? He said, I've got a really good idea for it. It's just as with all films, it's the middle part. You're like, what's going to happen? And then you look at those films that are so great. You're like, well, I guess they can't just meet some smuggler with an alien sidekick. I hadn't read the full quote until just now. That's pretty good. I like Taika. I feel like
really,
I feel like we got to put a moratorium on Taika Waititi movie talk until there's something more.
Right.
Also, the last time this came up, they were talking about he couldn't figure out the ending. So which is it? Which is it, Taika?
That's so true.
Is there a script at all? It's like, oh, he doesn't have a middle, doesn't have an ending. Well, what do you have?
Does he have a beginning? Does that exist? That's the next thing that's going to be like, well, he's figured out the middle and the end.
No. He's written a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. That's it. He's got the basis of it.
Yeah, exterior space. He's like, I don't know what happens after that. Yeah, well, he figured out the ending, Ben. Now he's just got to figure out the middle. That's just how it is. I do hope we get to see that movie someday, but who knows? Who knows? Gaming news now, because we all know so much about video games. Well, actually, Hannah, Chris, you guys know a fair bit about video games.
I know some.
Yeah. How is this company's name pronounced? Is it Ubisoft or Ubisoft?
I think it's Ubisoft. I've heard both.
I say Ubisoft.
I thought it was
Ubisoft.
and then I think I heard somebody say Ubisoft, and I've been confused ever since.
It's Ubisoft.
Well, is it Yoda or is it Yoda?
Is it Han or Han?
Ubisoft.
Let's you know what? Let's call up Billy D. Williams and ask him how this company's name
really like a Grogu name game.
Grogu.
Graga.
Oh.
This comes from a report from Kotaku or Koteku, if you prefer.
It's Kotaku. This is a Japanese word. They're rules.
Don't be ridiculous, Dom. Come on.
Back in my day, you could pronounce websites however you wanted. Nobody cared.
Goggle. Gotta goggle this real quick.
On the Facebook.
Yahoo.
It is the Fuche book.
Yeah.
Oh, we're having too much fun.
Ubisoft's this is from the report from Kotaku. Ubisoft's first video game adaptation of the beloved sci-fi franchise could be just around the corner. Kotaku has learned that the French publisher's open world game is currently targeting a projected release in early 2024 as the company scrambles for a major win after a year of delays and projects trapped in development hell. So this was part of kind of a larger story about what's going on with Ubisoft and like the current state of that company. And it sounds like they're kind of banking on Star Wars getting them back on track, which let's go to EA for a comment on that. Because the Star Wars gaming, the history of Star Wars gaming in the last 10 years has not been all that terrific. There's been some highlights, to be sure. Jedi Fallen Order, Jedi Survivor, Battlefront 2, Lego Star Wars. There's been some highlights, but there's been a lot of lowlights in there as well in terms of games being trapped in development hell and having year-long delays. I don't know. I'll turn it over to people who know more about gaming than me. What's going? Do we know does anyone have any insight on what's going on with Ubisoft and what could Star Wars? What kind of Star Wars game they might make?
Chris.
I've been staying a little bit away from this one because of the fact that they were having so many issues last year. So I have to kind of do a revisit on their company and see if they've fixed some of the horrid problems that were going on within the internal parts of their company. So hopefully they have over the last year dealt with this stuff. And but yeah, until then, I've been kind of like not as excited about this project, despite the fact that it is definitely what I want as far as a consumer is considered. It's just it sounded like that some of the people working on the game were not having a good time.
I
mean, and the thing is that this is supposed to be an open world game, and you're talking about probably the longest like production time for a game, like like Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor, like those are big games, but they're still like linear focus. You're trying to create like with a movie, you just film what you need and you just do it. Whereas
no, you write the ending, then you write the middle, then you write the beginning. That's what Taika taught us.
Yeah, sorry, that's the Taika Waititi way. But like with a video game, you have to create everything. Like literally, it's so labor intensive. That's why it's like one of the biggest industries, and also the most profitable industry right now is video games. And it's incredible the work that has to go into this, and especially with an open world game. Like people have been I can't remember when the last Grand Theft Auto came out, but like there are people talking about Grand Theft Auto 6, and like that's been waiting for that for like 10 years, and it still isn't out. Like that's like one of the biggest open world games in the business. So this is probably gonna be a while, if this even happens at all. Which I mean, I hate to say that, but stranger things have happened with Star Wars games, and just like Star Wars movies, sometimes we hear about them, and then we don't.
There's more from the Kotaku story about this game. So I'll read a little bit. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'll read a little bit more. First revealed back in early 2021, Project Helix, as it's known internally, is being developed with Massive as the lead studio, best known for the Division 1 and 2 military loot shooters. Creative director Julian Girardi said at the time that the Star Wars game would be a big departure from that series and totally different from the sort of games that Massive had made in the past. Two sources tell Kotaku that that development on Project Helix, which seems likely to include some form of interplanetary space travel, hasn't been progressing as well, and hopes are high internally that the game could be Ubisoft's first non-Assassin's Creed blockbuster hit in some time. But they also say that the company's goal to release the game within the current fiscal year is probably too ambitious. They still expect it ultimately to ship sometime in the following fiscal year, which runs from April 2024 through March 2025. So it's kind of an interesting sentence in there, where they say, progress hasn't been progressing as well as hopes, as well as hasn't been progressing well, but hopes are still high. And I love the optimism there, but it's kind of interesting that the game is as all things are a little bit stuck. But I will just sort of throw this in there. Like I said, I don't know much about video games, but what else had a really difficult production and nearly killed its creative head? Star Wars. The production of A New Hope was hell. Ask George about it. He wound up in the hospital with chest pains. So I'm not saying people should have to go through that to make a good quality thing, or to make anything, but just because the game is in trouble now, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to fall apart the way so many other Star Wars games have in the last few years.
Oh yeah, it'll come out. It's just a matter of when. I mean, they put so much work into this. There's no way it's gonna go the route of Star Wars 1313. I don't expect it.
I mean, a lot of work went into that too, but that was a different time.
Well, and then also we heard recently that Battlefront 3, the original Battlefront 3, was totally, apparently 99% done, and then they just didn't release it. And I'm still trying to recover from that news.
There will never be a Battlefront 3. Every Battlefront, every reboot of the Battlefront series gets stuck on 2. And there will never be a third. There will never be a Battlefront trilogy.
Bizarre. I just don't understand why. I just can't comprehend it.
Well, they just wanted to reboot it with a different, everything was different.
Yeah. Everything's changed, but nothing's changed. as
Yeah.
as Mark Hamill once said. We don't talk much about comics news on this show, but I wanted to bring this one up. This actually dropped today on StarWars.com.
Yes.
Here's the headline: D Squad is back.
Yes.
R2-D2's all-star team returns in new Marvel miniseries. Again, we'll read a bit from StarWars.com. If there's an important mission, these are the droids you're looking for. StarWars.com is excited to reveal with happy beeps that D Squad, the all-star team of droids led by R2-D2, as seen in a memorable arc, yeah, that's a word for it, of Star Wars The Clone Wars, is back in a new Marvel miniseries, Star Wars Dark Droids D Squad. In Dark Droids, this summer's horror-fueled comics crossover event, a mysterious threat called the Scourge begins to corrupt droids, cyborgs, and mechanical beings of all kind. The spin-off Dark Droids D Squad, written by Mark Guggenheim with art by Salva Espin and David Messina, finds R2 reactivating his super crew once more with some personal changes. The new lineup consists of R2-D2, IG-88, 4LOM, WAC-47, BT-1, and 000 to combat this danger. Well,
this wasn't on my bingo card for things that we would get.
No.
A D Squad revival and return, but you know what? Super fun. I love it. This might get me into comics.
Yeah.
I don't know why they didn't call this the Gascon Adventures, though.
Well, that's the thing. So I scoured the StarWars.com article for any mention of the Colonel. And there is not one. There's nary a mention of Colonel Meeber Gascon.
Surprise
And
cameo.
That's where this is going, right? Meeber Gascon's popping up somewhere in this storyline. It's just gotta. And
especially in a comic. Like, we got to find out what happened to the good old Colonel.
Yeah. I gotta think Steven Stanton will buy up many a copy of those comic books.
I mean, George Lucas will. Remember, this is George Lucas's favorite arc of the Clone Wars.
It is.
And he loves comics.
He does. So I'm sure Marvel's already sent him a copy and he's put it. He hasn't even opened it. He's just put it in the pile of
case
of Star Wars stuff that gets sent to him. Good stuff. That'll be fun, I'm sure. Although this is I look at the comics now, like it just feels so overwhelming. Like to read this you have to read Dark Droids, which I'm sure is tie in with 8 other things. The comics have become so insular that like I don't know. It feels overwhelming to even try to get into these things sometimes. Like I was into the comics for most of the 2015 to 2019 run, and like I read it all, I kept up with it, and then it became too much, so I dropped off. And there are times when I think, ooh, I'd like to get back into it, but it's like you can't just read the Star Wars series or the Darth Vader series. There's like 8 series, and they all interact with each other. They're all happening at once. And for the people that read this, the guys on Ion Canon are having a great time with it. But I'm like, I can't commit to all of these series all at the same time. I just want one Star Wars comic to read, and it's just
read the ones you want
so
to read.
much paper canon.
Read the ones you want to read, and read the Wikipedia articles for the ones you don't want to read.
I need the complete story. Also, Wikipedia does not have comic book breakdowns the way they used to.
Sorry, go to Star Wars Explained or something.
Yeah.
Also, there's like people that do dramatic readings of comics on YouTube, so they got you covered.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So D Squad returns. What a shocker! I genuinely did not see that one coming.
Also, this is this droid squad. This is a darker droid. Speaking of dark droids, there's gonna be a lot of these droids about to murder a lot of people. You got Chopper, #1 murder droid. You got those dudes from the comics. You got IG-11, like just crazy.
Ben, you just added 2 characters to the droid roster and just vaguely referenced 2 others. That was incredible. That was incredible. Chopper's
I couldn't think of the names.
Chopper's nowhere to be found in this. It's BT-1 and 000 are those 2 from the comics, and it's not IG-11. It's IG-88.
It's an IG something. Chopper's on the cover.
Well, he's not in the list. He's not in the list of the.
No,
droids.
there's
well, he
one
better
that
be in
looks
the
like
comic because he's
Chopper.
on the cover.
I thought don't think that's him, bro. I
Like
don't
with the
think that's
exact same paint scheme.
him. No, I dispute that.
I'm calling shenanigans on this.
I'm excited for I'm just excited for Whack 47. That guy was fun.
That's great.
Is that the pit droid?
Yes.
Yeah.
Pit droid.
Gotta love Whack.
Oh wow, that's so Chopper. What the hell?
And yet they don't
Amen.
mention him in the
I'm
story.
not crazy here.
You're not crazy.
So odd.
Yeah. Chopper's not mentioned in the StarWars.com article, but yeah, there he is, right on the cover.
But he's
Also,
on the
that's not
cover, which is in
D-Squad.
the same article.
Wack is the only person here from D Squad, right?
Besides R2, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Dug up, down up.
Yeah.
What?
Maybe. I don't know. There's
Are
somewhere.
you singing? Are you singing a song?
It did sound a little bit like it.
That's all.
D Squad got blown up, maybe we don't know. Hey, what happened to the droid with the hat? Bum. All right. So Ben, you mentioned this off the hop. Willow.
Hop?
Off the what?
Off the hop.
No, that is a saying. And
I
will
hop.
die on that hill.
Off the hibbity hoppity. Let's go. Off the hoppity ho.
Off the hop, we've got news coming out.
I am on Urban Dictionary right now. Right off the hop is to do or did something right away. So that was right at the beginning of the show.
To did something? What?
Well,
To did or not to did? That is the question.
Look at Dom with that riz.
Blowing my mind right now.
Off the hop, off the top, off the start
Whatever you
of
say.
the show.
Whatever you say.
Ben's
Ben-
a hop guy. He's a hop kind of guy. He does it.
You're
he
hop
does.
to the new words.
He hops into IHOP and gets threatened by the wait staff.
That's what I do.
But you mentioned this at the start of the show about Willow being pulled from Disney Plus and a whole bunch of other things that were Disney Plus originals being pulled from Disney Plus. And this is part of a larger trend in the industry with many shows being taken off of streaming services. And, for now, Star Wars is safe. There has yet to be a Star Wars thing that's been taken down. But excuse me, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't worried. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't worried.
What project? If I'm jumping the gun of that question.
No, not like I'm not saying The Mandalorian. I'm not saying Obi-Wan Kenobi. But like something that's one of these animated things, like Young Jedi Adventures, or whatever.
There's a lot of content on Disney Plus
Biomes.
that's Star Wars that is not released physically. That's not anywhere else.
Yeah.
It's been a Disney Plus original, and like you look at the stuff that was taken off that's not Star Wars. You're talking about Willow, which is obviously original. It's not available anywhere. You have The World According to Jeff Goldblum. That was one of the first shows. That was an opening title. Like that was one they advertised as, this is one of the shows you can get with Disney Plus when it opened alongside The Mandalorian. And now it's gone. And a bunch of other stuff. And there's a growing list of things that are like, yeah, if they take Attack of the Clones off, I own like 5 different versions of that movie. Like I'm good, but like if they take something else,
yeah,
yeah, that too.
What about Resistance?
Yeah, that's one.
It exists elsewhere. I think. I don't know if it ever got a physical release though.
Season 1 did. Season 1 got released on DVD in the year 2019.
Wow.
But yeah, like these sorts of things, it just because it hasn't touched Star Wars yet doesn't mean that it won't. And Disney, like I remember being a kid growing up, the Disney Vault was a thing.
Yeah.
And part of the pitch of Disney Plus was that the vault wouldn't exist anymore. Yeah. And it wouldn't surprise me if some things start being taken off and then, they're brought back for 6 months, but they're going away again. And all of this seems to be money saving somehow.
Like Mexican pizza at Taco Bell.
Sure. I don't understand how exactly it saves money, but apparently it does. But I just, this like we were talking about industry trends earlier with AI and digital recreations. This is another one that is concerning. And like I said, just because it hasn't touched Star Wars yet doesn't mean it won't. And yeah, Resistance, the Young Jedi Adventures, or whatever that show is called, like that's the sort of thing that I could see vanishing for a while because it costs money to host it up there or whatever. I still don't fully understand it. And let's say the Lando series gets made, or a Droid Tale, or one of these projects that's been announced, and it doesn't really connect to anything else. And, maybe it isn't the biggest, most successful hit of all time. Maybe it gets kind of Willow reaction. Well, maybe it'll get the Willow treatment and be pulled down too. So I don't know. I just think this is just because our favorite thing hasn't been affected by it yet doesn't mean it's not worth paying attention to.
So this is kind of really fascinating. This is the first time that I've seen something like this, to be honest. Because up until this point, as far as I could tell, all of the shows that were made for streaming services have remained on those streaming services up until this era where now they're starting to take some things down. And then all the shows that weren't, you could still, there was still some type of way to buy at least the episodes individually on like Amazon Prime or YouTube or like something like that, the Apple TV or movies or whatever, whatever iTunes has become. I don't know. What have you become? What you maybe,
Literally
anyway,
don't know.
So like, I'm confused because there's like trailers for Willow on YouTube. Like there's trailers on like the Lucasfilm and like Disney YouTube channels. And it says, go to Disney Plus and to watch this. And it's not on Disney Plus. And it's nowhere else. Like there's not like, there's no option to even buy the episodes as like a season or like individual episodes on these other apps. It's just gone. It doesn't exist anymore. It's like you would have to go to the underworld of the internet to find these things. And that's really shocking, to be honest. Like I've never seen that happen before. So I don't know if they're trying to like teach people like, hey, when something comes out, you need to watch it right away because it might not always be available. I don't know if that's what they're trying to do, or because it's very bizarre that they would spend so much money making something and then just pull it from being able to be seen by anyone. Like it's very, very odd. I don't understand. So I'm confused. I'm very confused.
Yeah. And I mean, it goes without saying, but you just gotta feel for everyone involved in that project.
Yeah.
Because it's like it's one thing to like be working on a project or a show, and it doesn't get renewed for a second season, whether it was popular or not, and it doesn't go ahead, and you go, oh, that's sad. Like some people will want more of it, but like you kind of move on. That's the part of the kind of industry. But this is like next level going, hey, we're not just stopping the project or not continuing what you've done. It's like we want to eradicate this from our like, on paper of what we've done and what people can watch of this. It's like it's next level to just be like, don't exist. We're not going to make this exist anymore.
And it's weird. It's weird because like, as I stated, I was watching Willow, and then like the night before I was going to go and watch the last 2 episodes, I go to Disney Plus. The episodes that I had downloaded on my phone are gone. I can't watch them. I'm like,
wow.
I'm really I really enjoyed the show and I wanted to finish it. And I'm like, and there was also a making of documentary. I still haven't seen that because that's gone too. And like, it's a helpless feeling going like, I literally like, if it was in a store, I would go and buy it. I liked Willow that much. I would go to a store and buy the Blu-ray, like, because it was that good. but I can't. Literally, you can't. Yes, I had to go and pirate it, but I don't even want to call it pirating because I just wanted to watch it. I was willing to buy it.
The episodes were downloaded on your phone, and then they took them away from your phone.
So it's insanity. And I remember years ago, speaking of the Disney Vault, I remember wanting to watch Aladdin, the original Aladdin movie, because I was doing a podcast on it. I was like, okay, I'm going to go watch it. I go online to find it. This is before Disney Plus. Nowhere online. I had again to pirate the 1992 classic Disney movie Aladdin just so I could watch it. I had a VHS copy, but I didn't have a VHS player to play it. So it's just insanity. We're back to this whole thing where, they just take things away, and these people that I feel bad for the creators. Like Hannah was saying, you have all this thing where you have worked on this so much, and now it's just gone. John Kasdan, who wrote the show, had like a really weird reaction to it. Like he posted about it and was like, it was like people were like really weirded out because he was like, oh yeah, I'm kind of digging this. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like he was almost insinuating that maybe it'll get shopped around to other networks, which maybe he thinks will like maybe make it so they could get a season 2 out of it. Maybe if it gets put on, another service like Netflix or Amazon or whatever. I don't know. Obviously he knows more than he's letting on there, but overall, it's just a very weird situation when you kind of come to the conclusion, like, yeah, corporations, especially Disney, they love to make money, but they won't take my money, this thing that I really want.
Yeah.
It makes so little sense because it's like, I know so little about like what are the like original series on Disney Plus these days. Like there's a bunch of series on there that I couldn't even name them. And yet I know many people, y'all included, who have watched Willow. So I'm like, how is this so unpopular that you're going to take it off your network when it's like one of the few shows beyond Star Wars and Marvel that I even know is on Disney Plus. So it's none of this makes sense. Absolutely none of this makes sense.
Yeah, it's strange. It's just strange. And I think this is another one of those things that if it's not on the Writers Guild and SAG and DGA and all their lists of things to discuss with the studios, I imagine it will be up there soon.
Yeah, because it's like, where are their residuals? Like if they stop distributing your film or TV show, then where are you gonna get your residuals from? Like,
and this has also been happening over at HBO Max. I should just call it Max now, apparently. But this was a big thing with Warner Brothers doing what they did with the whole restructuring of DC and all this kind of stuff. They just started dumping stuff off of Max. And there's a bunch of shows and movies that just aren't on there anymore because they were cutting costs.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the industry is very much what's the saying? Monkey see, monkey do. Like as soon as one of them starts doing stuff, the other one starts doing stuff. I will say, on the Canadian side, I was in a meeting with some people at a high-ish level of a Canadian broadcaster, and they were talking about wanting to wait and see how this stuff was going to play out with. At the time, it was HBO and Warner, and now we've seen the trend continue to Disney, and I think the word is it's going to hit Netflix next too. Anywho,
anyway,
super happy fun times.
I think we need a palate cleanser. And you know what's a good palate cleanser? An interview with Misty Rosas.
Yeah.
Hannah, earlier this week, you sat down with the Mandalorian actress. You want to say anything about the interview before we hear it?
It is of course, speaking with anyone involved with any Star Wars project was such a treat, and she was so passionate about everything she had to say in the interview, to all the questions, and you can tell it's just one of these amazing people that I think we're very lucky to have in the Star Wars world. But let's take a look at the questions and the piece of interview. I actually haven't seen the piece you're gonna show, so
it's the
I'm
whole
excited
thing.
for what. Oh, it's the whole thing. Oh,
It's the
let's
whole
do it
thing.
then. Let's do it. I gotta critique myself then. No, it's gonna be great.
All right. Well, without further ado, let's all enjoy Hannah's interview with Misty Rosas.
G'day there. Welcome to the Star Wars Underworld. My name is Hannah, and today we are joined by a very special guest. It is the wonderful Misty Rosas. Hello, Misty. How are you today?
Hello. I am really well. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be with everyone here for this fun interview.
This is going to be amazing. It's going to be a great conversation. I'm ready to get all the answers from you, learn what it's like to be in the world of Star Wars from your point of view. It's going to be fantastic. So before we get into the juicy Star Wars questions that we all want to hear, let's get to know you a little bit and let's hear about what was your starting point and, let's say, inspiration becoming an actor and becoming a creative artist?
Gosh, my starting point, like the very beginning for me was gymnastics.
Yeah, right.
I took my first gymnastics class when I was 2. And, you know, even though that is a different type of performance, it's still very much on stage. You know, you're performing in front of a lot of people. So gymnastics was first, but all the while training as a gymnast, my mom also put me in dance class, and I have loved singing since forever. My parents are a huge, you know, inspiration as far as listening to music, and they loved movies, so we would watch movies, you know, together all of the time. So I had a lot of inspiration from family, you know, as well as being a very busy child. And again, I think I was definitely ruining their furniture because I was jumping on the bed, jumping on the couch, hanging on things. And so like, we need to put this child in something physical. So,
get that energy out.
Yeah, my brother's like, why don't you put her in a gymnastics class? And that was it for me. That was the beginning.
Wow.
So.
Yeah, that's amazing, and you know, all of that makes so much sense to you know, where you are today, and you can see all those, you know, little sparks of inspiration coming to fruition now. That's amazing, and you know, from that starting point to getting up to speed in terms of the Star Wars timeline, your first call and you know, that phone call or email that you're gonna be in Star Wars, you're gonna be in The Mandalorian. You know, we're going back a few years ago now, but what was your initial reaction that first call? You're in Star Wars, you're going to be in this show. What was your reaction to that news?
My reaction to the news was instant. It was happy tears, the sigh of relief in a way. Because at that time in my life, I had been hustling really hard as an artist, a music artist, a dancer, auditioning as an actor too. And it was a point of equal parts exhilaration and stress, going for the things that I love the most and using pretty much every dollar I've ever made. So right before this moment, I was learning how to live with, you know, the mantra every day is I have enough for this day. And that's how I was going about my life. And I was on my way to you know, to train. And my agent called and she's like, hey, where are you? I was like, I'm driving. She's like, okay, you need to pull over. I have something for you. I'm sending it over now. And she didn't tell me what it was. So I'm like, by myself in, you know, just pulled over on the side of the street in my car. And, you know, she sent me my deal memo. And I was like, it's for the job that we've been waiting on to hear if I'm going to do this or not. And so I'm kind of reading it, and then I scroll down to the end and I see Star Wars and Lucasfilm, and again it's just like I have goosebumps. I was like, oh my god.
Wow. Surreal.
And
Surreal. Yeah, absolutely. And kind of, you know, on the back of that, was Star Wars ever on your bucket list of jobs to be a part of? G'day there, welcome.
That was interesting. I don't know what happened there.
Did the whole thing go up?
I guess not. Well, hopefully everybody enjoyed that clip. We'll be able to see the whole thing on the YouTube channel.
Good taster.
Yeah, I do think that it sort of brought us right up until the moment of Star Wars. Like it was Misty's life until Star Wars, and then tune in for Star Wars. Yeah,
I do have to say that the questions I tried to ask very specific questions, and she has such great insight into the characters of Quill and Frog Lady. She wasn't just, you know, a person in a suit. Like, she really had such understanding and awareness of those characters. So definitely for Mando fans, it was a great conversation. I learned so much from those characters. Yeah.
So we'll be releasing that as a video separately on the YouTube channel. And then the full version will end up in our audio podcast feed as well. So if you are listening via
if
audio,
you're listening
not
via
hearing this.
Yeah, if you're listening via audio, this the whole thing just played.
This part is not in it.
Yeah.
But for those on our live stream on YouTube or watching later on YouTube, the whole thing's going to be separate. Just go to our other videos on the channel. You'll see it.
Exactly.
And we'll put that up in the next few days.
Yeah. So big thanks to Misty Rosas for taking a few moments. And big thanks to Hannah for interviewing her.
Yeah.
Yeah, Misty, someone hopefully we'll see in Star Wars again. All right. It's that time. It's the time for Ask the Star Wars Underworld, or the SWU. How did you guys do this last time? Did you start with
I don't even remember doing this last time.
no,
we just went through it. That's right. I remember this.
Start with the super chats or start with the Discord? Where we want to go?
Let's start with Joel left some super chats.
Right.
So let's do his, and then we're gonna go through the Discord as well, and then in the live stream, feel free to leave. We're talking either if you want to respond to what we're talking about, or if you want some other things responded to. Anything goes. So let's start with Joel's first one. Joel leaving a super chat saying thoughts on there being a big drought of on-screen Star Wars, both film and TV, in the near future as productions come to a halt because studios won't pay their writers and the strike goes on. So just general, how are we feeling right now as we're now a little bit into this WGA strike and more strikes are looming?
Here's the thing. The studios knew this was coming and they planned for it. And there are at least 4 Star Wars series, if you count the Bad Batch, that are, basically done. They're done filming at the very least. And so now it's just a matter of editing and putting the effects in. So we know Ahsoka's coming out in August. Skeleton Crew's probably coming at the end of the year. Acolyte next year, Bad Batch next year. And Andor too, probably. So I don't think we'll actually feel the effects because I think the studios in all their machinations plan for this. And I think part of their tactic is audiences won't feel the effect of the strike because they've built up so much content in the can. And that's something they're trying to take away one of the powers that the writers have, which is we're withholding our services so you can't make money. They're going, no, we actually got a bunch of stuff that's going to continue to make us money. So the strike will have to go on for a really long time, I think, for us to actually feel it in the way that previous writer strikes to have the same effect that previous writer strikes did.
And that's absolutely horrible because
agreed.
What because the thing is, like, when they were getting everything ready to go for this from the studio's perspectives and planning for this gap, it's not like the writers were being given a ton more work. And it's not like they were able to, save up much themselves for this time, because now during the strike, they're not working. They're not being paid. They have to either not work at all or go work another job, might pay less, might be more difficult. And they might have to move to find work somewhere else. And so, the writers are definitely feeling the brunt of this financially. And that's their stake in this. And the studios, for at least a little while, aren't. So we could come into a situation where the studios end up giving the writers what they want, but literally after not having the writers work for a certain period of time and going through all that financial hardship, when the studios end up at the end of the day not suffering very much because they'll be able to catch up and they'll be able to time everything right. So it's kind of insidious in a sense if it goes down that way, and pretty much it is going down that way. There's no reversing it now. The money that the writers have lost so far from the beginning of the strike is never going to come back. So that's kind of messed up. So really, I guess where the rubber meets the road is, when is the point where it actually is going to stress the studios? When is it going to go longer than they've planned for it to go? And are they going to play a little bit of chicken once they get to that point with like, okay, now we're both losing money. How long are we both willing to hold out? But at least for now, if everything goes according to plan, like you said, Dominic, for the studios, the writers are the only ones that are losing right now, which is really, really frustrating and terrible.
Well, it's not only the writers; it's all the other people that work on productions that have stopped.
Yeah,
because
true.
And they can film all the scripts that are set, but they'll reach a point where you run out of scripts, and then there'll be less production. So okay, all the scripts for Andor are written, so we can finish season 2, but there's not going to be a season 3 for a long time, and there might not even be a season of Book of Boba Fett 2 because nobody's written it yet. So
yeah, and there's all these reports about Mandalorian season 3 being season 4, I should say, being delayed.
We spent so long saying season 3 that you're
I just
3.
can't possibly change it. But like, and it was going to be already a long time anyway, because they hadn't even they're shooting other stuff. They can't even get to Mando, and they knew the strike was coming, and they now that it's in there, like they're just doing it. They're just biding their time, but they could also stretch this out. We're already in a dry spout right now. Like we're already in a spot right now where the next big thing is Ahsoka in August, sometime in August, probably the end of August. Not a lot going on right now. Lucasfilm's pretty preoccupied with promoting Indiana Jones, so they're really not focused on Star Wars. So we're already in a dry spell. I think they will just pivot to whatever, and maybe Skeleton Crew may be pushed back to early 2024 instead of late 2023, and maybe Acolyte will be a little bit further into that year instead. The studios will unfortunately find a way to make it work for them, and that sucks for the writers who are responsible for all this.
I think it's one of those things where it's kind of going to be a whiplash. Like it's happening now. We're aware of it and talking about it now, but like the fruits of it aren't here yet. But definitely, I think by middle of next year, when it's like, oh, there's nothing else on the horizon for now. Like, I think that's where really, I don't think studios will be pressed until like middle of next year, to be honest. Yeah.
It could be a long haul, which the WGA seems to be in for. So we'll see how this goes. This plays out.
We have another super chat from Joel. Reading a lot of the interviews, the villains of Ahsoka sound fascinating and seem to have a lot of metaphorical meat on the bone. It's more of a comment than a question, but it does look very...
I agree. Meat on the bone.
Yeah. Again, this kind of goes back to what I was saying about the Ahsoka trailer. Like, I feel like that trailer gave us a lot more to go off of because they weren't so secretive as they tend to be. And so I could see, again, you look at like what I go back and watch the Book of Boba Fett trailer. Like, what the hell was that? Like that trailer showed us nothing and gave us like nothing to be excited about. And this one has given us like not just the returning characters from Rebels, but these interesting new villains. And then, that sort of snowballs where now people know a little bit about these villains. They've seen them. They're intrigued by them. Now you're going to start having the entertainment reporters asking the actors and the writers and the directors, tell us about these characters a little bit, and they can tease out more about them. So this goes back to a long held thing of mine, which is secrecy is not the best marketing strategy for Star Wars. I think you need to protect the big stuff, absolutely, but you got to give little interesting things like this to keep people intrigued and engaged.
I totally agree. I think Star Wars has totally overshot the secrecy thing now, and I actually think that's done some damage to the excitement around Mandalorian. It really, really has. It's like going into it like Mando's in it, like we're flying around. That's all we knew, and like as much as like, oh, what can happen? That lost its momentum. It's now we still like. This show's coming. I don't even know what it's about. Like, should I go watch it? Kind of thing.
And like season 2 of The Mandalorian, I think one of the best seasons of Star Wars TV ever. This trailer sucked. There was nothing in the trailer.
True. That is true.
Like, They were so short and they couldn't say nothing. And I know it was because, like, they couldn't put Bo-Katan and Luke Skywalker and Ahsoka in the trailers. I get it. But also,
why couldn't they?
Maybe put Bo-Katan in there. Maybe build some hype. Maybe not keep every single character a secret.
Yeah. I mean, they've basically done the equivalent of that with the Ahsoka trailer by putting Hera in there. Saying, so there she is. She's part of this. Enjoy.
And like I hope someone back there is comparing that, like the discussion and excitement and enthusiasm around that. Like it was a single shot of a character rumored to be in it. It was like, oh yeah, she's gonna be in it now, and then we see her for one shot and people went nuts. No one was saying, oh, I don't want to see this yet or whatever. Like, I know we go, oh, it was surprising, but I think it's surprising because we all like, they never show us anything in the trailers.
Yeah.
But I just think of the excitement because of what we saw on that Ahsoka trailer. It's like, it's worth it. It's like the talk around Ahsoka and people that don't know the show going, oh, what's this? Oh, it was really good. It was a really good trailer. Oh, what's this show about?
Well, I think there's a handful of trailers throughout Star Wars history. I think they've just kind of nailed it in regards to like giving you like kind of new images of things you don't know. It makes you ask questions, but also giving you the familiar bits. Like, the Ahsoka trailer, I think is like one of the best trailers we've gotten like ever. Another example I would give would be one of the first, if not, I think it was the second Force Awakens trailer. Where it was just like all these images and it's the lightsaber and Maz Kanata is handing it to Leia. What's going on there? And then you get Chewie and we're home and it's just like you're losing your mind because it's amazing. But you could look at the trailer and go like, I don't know what's going on here. Let's talk about this. But also, it's Han and freaking Chewie. They're home. Like this is great. It gives you a good balance as opposed to it's Din and Grogu and they're back. They're doing adventures. Okay, this is the show. This is if season 1, season 2 all over again. Let's go.
Tell that to Kanja Club.
Sequel trilogy trailers were all great. They were fun.
They were pretty good. They were pretty
a lot
good.
of fun.
Yeah. There are some really good ones, especially The Force Awakens. That trailer that came out.
It's really hard. Trailer. It's hard to make a bad Star Wars movie trailer. TV hasn't always done great, but there's some bangers of movie trailers.
The Clone Wars trailers were always just amazing.
Back half of season 3 trailers, my favorite trailer ever.
I forget the editor's name, but he always just man.
Yeah. Season 5 of Clone Wars. Yeah, sorry.
So I was gonna say I never watched a Clone Wars trailer, like ever.
You missed out
in my life. I know, and you guys always talk about
That's some content ideas.
How
to watch these
That's not a bad idea.
Yeah,
I'm
go
currently
back.
doing an analysis of every season too. So
That's perfect.
I
trailer
would tell you to
analysis.
go back and watch the very first Clone Wars movie trailer, probably before we would even a movie. But there's only like a potato quality version of
there's
it
not good
online.
quality of the
It's
first
not
few.
great. They haven't. It was before the
It's
official
great, though.
Star Wars YouTube.
Yeah.
Wait,
Oh,
back
man.
at San Diego Comic-Con in 2018, when they announced that the Clone Wars was coming back, they started that panel, which was billed as a 10th anniversary of the Clone Wars panel, by showing the very first footage of the Clone Wars they'd ever shown at Star Wars Celebration Europe in 2007. And it was wild to go back and watch that because there was almost no Ahsoka in it. Like they were still keeping Ahsoka kind of secret. And then, then you look at like the season 7 trailer and it's like all Ahsoka, and you just, it's this journey that the show and the character went on. But season 5 Clone Wars trailer, like, is still top 3 season Star Wars trailers of all time for me. When the first time a trailer genuinely blew my mind was when that trailer fades to black, and then you see you hear Palpatine's laugh, and you see him arrive on Mandalore and take out those 2 lightsabers. I had never expected to see anything like that ever in life, and like I screamed like there was no. I lost my mind at the celebration at Celebration 2012. It was wild.
Yeah, that was amazing.
I don't know if we talked about the villains of Ahsoka, but that.
Well, we got to wait and see on that one. But they do sound
Thanks
really,
for that
really
tangent,
interesting.
Joel.
Meat's back on the menu, boys.
One more super chat from Joel before we get on to.
You guys not know that quote?
Yeah, but
Of course I know that quote. I've seen memes.
But I don't understand what it has to do with anything.
We said metaphorical meat, so I was saying meat's back on the menu.
Okay, all right.
There's more metaphorical.
You gotta
meat
keep
now.
up with these things, okay?
Come on, Dom.
All
Get
right.
that Riz going.
Back in my day, we didn't have
L's in the chat. L's in the chat for Dom.
that voice has destroyed my throat. I don't think I can.
Amazing.
I don't think I can finish the show.
One last super chat from Joel before we move on to others. Another reason I'm curious for Skeleton Crew, it's not Jon Favreau in Star Wars, despite being in the New Republic era. That's right. This is going to be the first New Republic era thing.
We
in
know,
live action.
we know, Joel, you hate Jon Favreau. We
I was
know.
about to make that comment. Being
Also-
like, this is the era of Joel hating Jon Favreau we're in currently.
Also, you guys keep saying Jon Favreau. He's talking about a different writer, Jon Favreau.
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 That's true. Wow.
Favreau.
Yeah.
Favreau. It's Favre.
Yoda.
It's already
man.
spelled odd
Ubisoft.
being French, so I can't notice that.
If I had a
Favreau.
nickel for every time I had to go to Google to make sure I was spelling Jon Favreau's last name right,
That's
man.
true.
Guys,
It's
I
just-
add
I just
so
don't-
many vowels. I add
If
so
you
many
have
vowels to it.
3 or more vowels, it just makes an O sound. That's the rule. It doesn't really matter what vowels. What
Just put an
order.
O on the end of it and be done with
And
it.
if there's an
Yeah, it should
Favreau.
be
Same thing.
Favro. That's what it should be. Favreau.
Yes.
Yeah.
Favreau.
Yeah.
That makes more sense.
This is where I'm reminded that not everybody had to grow up learning French.
Well, I did,
Oh,
and it was
s'il vous
terrible.
plaît,
It was
elsewhere, Dom.
terrible.
Because, like, to me, EAU, yeah, sure, that makes an O sound perfect. Yeah, that's how it's always been.
Yeah,
Hell, you could get rid of the A or the E, and it would still make that same noise.
Look, I barely learned English. Come on.
Say.
I barely learned English.
Sorry, I apologize, Joel. I shouldn't make fun of your spelling because I spell things wrong all the time too. I once put up an article on StarWarsUnderworld.com with schedule spelled SCHEDUAL. Schedule.
Yeah, don't go back and read our old news articles, man. Don't please, for the love of God, do not do that. There's so much
Ben was unfamiliar with the concept that there's supposed to be between a space and an open parentheses, and so there were a lot of words that were just separated by an open bracket.
Look, I never claimed to be a professional reporter. Okay, never claimed it. Okay, so
I don't know.
don't
Canada
come at
thinks
me.
you are.
Yeah, Canada.
Do
We do think
The
you
whole
are.
of
Yeah,
Canada
I think so.
thinks
Look,
you are.
we're kind of trying to keep that in the down low. Remember, we're trying to keep the illusion up.
You spelled all the French words right, Ben. Apparently,
Yeah.
English I don't know, but all the French words might have been the Louisiana.
Ben
being
is
so
huge.
close.
Ben is huge in Quebec. They love him over there.
Yes.
Ben Hart, the Star Wars
I'll be
guy.
touring
That's
there
what they
next
call
week.
him.
They don't give a damn about me in Mississippi, but I go to Quebec. Holy hell!
They call him Le Star Wars geek.
Oh my gosh, this dude is geek.
How did we get on this?
I don't know, but I think we covered. I think we covered that one.
Bro.
Thank you again, Joel, for that wonderful tangent.
All right, still time to put in super chats on the YouTube if you're watching live, but we're gonna get to some of our Discord comments and questions while we're seeing if there's any more on YouTube. Where did that go? Oh, there it is. Our first one is from Kakira Creations.
Okay, you guys. Okay, see this. This is where I made fun of Joel's spelling. Now I have to make fun of whoever wrote the notes. It's Kajira Creations. It's our friend who makes all the wonderful art that's supposed to be a J, not a K. Who wrote this?
It's only because I couldn't freaking copy and paste it from Discord.
They are
everything, and I was in a hurry. Okay,
each other on the keyboard.
I knew it was
They
a
are next to
J.
each other on the keyboard.
Kajira Creations, creator of Ben Mega, Omega saying "Good soldiers follow orders," Yodana. Yeah, all of the wonderful art that's been created about from ridiculous things on this that have been said on this show. There we go.
Kajira Creations.
Kajira Creations. Also, Creations is supposed to be with a K. I'm just gonna throw that out there as well.
Okay, pulling it back into the workshop one more time to fix that. There we go.
There we go.
Kajira Creations.
There we go.
I sent an email about this many months ago, but I'm just wondering if y'all's got a PO box address for fans and listeners to send you some gifts / stuff. Yes,
we have 4 different ones.
Yeah,
5 different ones. No,
who's got 2?
It's I'm gonna put it up on the screen while y'all talk about the next one.
Okay,
Dump
so this
truck.
one comes from Dump Truck. It's actually Trump Duck, but Ben spelt it wrong. No, Dump Truck.
Oh, hell no.
Says, so if Ben takes up 2 months as the Star Wars guy and Star Wars gentleman, who fills out the rest of the months, and when can we buy that calendar? So I guess this is like one of those like firefighters calendars.
Forgot about this. How did Dump Truck remember this?
We
I
need to do a
have no
photo
memory.
shoot of Ben in his top hat and a suit and
No,
tails.
we do not.
Yes, we do.
Yeah,
Dump Truck,
I think
get out of here with that nonsense.
I think there's just 12 months of different Ben characters. There's Ben Hart, the Star Wars guy, Sir Benjamin, the Star Wars
No,
gentleman.
you're not getting out of this. You're not getting
apparently
out of this.
we've added Ben Hart,
Vignani.
Le Star Wars Guy. There's your conspiracy theorist character. We could have a month of that guy. You know, I'm sure we can come up with enough. Ben
Look, I think angry. I think
is another
no,
one.
I really think there should be room for angry Canadian yelling about Ray Palpatine. I think that's one that needs to be on there too.
Well, this is also just Ben, the Canadian Star Wars journalist. That could be one. We'll get you like a little one of those hats that says press on it, but it'll have a maple leaf. You know,
and you're drinking maple syrup while
you're drinking maple
holding
syrup.
a camera.
Yeah, like I got a scoop. I got a scoop.
Hilarious.
The maple syrup on set of Ahsoka wasn't right. Genuinely, the
Why?
voices are ruining
Just
my my ability to
What
speak.
was that thing? What was that thing that we really bullied
don't know.
Ben about a few months ago?
Oh, you were supposed to You were supposed to cosplay as Lonnie. There's another one.
Lonnie is another one.
Supposed to cosplay as Lonnie. So I think we've got 6 months.
We've already established I don't have the facial hair for this.
Yeah, we can make it happen.
You can buy facial hair, Ben.
Exactly. We'll
That's
get you
just
there.
true.
Okay.
Every dollar donated is one hair added to Ben's fake mustache.
Okay, so we got every super chat. Yes. Okay, so Ben Hart, the Star Wars guy. So Benjamin, the Star Wars gentleman. Ben Hart, the Star Wars geek. Ben Mega. This Canadian reporter character we've just invented. Lonnie. There's 6 months. We've got the first 6, and I think it should be up to the listeners to come up with the other 6.
6 other
months of Ben in the calendar. I was looking at Ben's face. He is hating this so much.
I just realized that I have complete control over the notes and who gets to ask questions from now on. Just leave it at that.
Oh man. Okay. Let's. While Chris is still digging up the.
No,
PO
I have
box.
it.
Oh, you've got it. Okay.
But, so you can send stuff to the Star Wars Underworld, 21405 Devonshire Street, Suite 216B, Chatsworth, California 91311.
Now,
is this a normal address? This is like computer code. Is that how you find stuff in America? What the hell?
That is
It's
how
like
our
a
addresses work.
paragraph of an address. What the
That
hell?
is how
There would be a 1138 in there if he made it up.
Let's break this
so
down.
many
Let's
sets
break
of
this down.
numbers.
So 21405 is the building. Devonshire is the street. Suite 216B is the room in the building. And then Chatsworth is the town. California is the state. And then 91311 is a random code that means nothing.
It's the zip code, right?
The zip code, which doesn't really need to be there.
You don't have zip codes in Down
we have
Under?
We have
Well,
like
we
in Canada
call
we
them
have
postcodes.
yes,
How
postal
many digits
codes.
do you have?
Oh, the
6.
postcode.
Oh, we have
Excuse me.
4 digits.
Yeah.
4 digits.
We
I
have
guess
a lot
there's
of
not a lot of
places
there's
here.
not a lot of people here.
Are there
Yeah.
letters in yours?
Nowhere. Apart
Okay.
from the word of your street.
Okay.
Dominic,
No,
yeah,
because
Canada
ours-
has letters, which make that
We've
always
got
gets
letters
me.
in ours. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
So if you're tuning onto YouTube, you can see it on the screen. But for those that are listening, Ben, can you put this in the can someone put this in like the description or like the notes for the podcast listeners?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Sure.
Yes.
I'll do it. I'll do it.
Okay. So that's the only
Send stuff.
business.
But just know, like, if you send it, like Chris is gonna receive it, and if Chris receives it, if it's for the rest of us, we're not gonna get it for like 9 months.
I will either mail
that.
it. I
If
will mail
that.
it to them. I will remail it to them, or whenever we reconvene.
Within the next 24 months.
Y'all just gonna have to come to LA to
You know
get
in
your
Nemo,
stuff, get your packages.
You know in Finding Nemo where the pelican carries
P.
the
Sherman,
fish
42
in his,
Wally
like,
Way, Sydney.
He's like gullet. Yeah, exactly. And he carries the fish in his like the pelican's like mouth. That's how packages arrive here from abroad. So, Chris, I'll send my pelican now. It'll get to you in a week. Put the package in its mouth, and it'll come back. Great. Sorted.
Amazing.
That's right. I mean, if you already live in Hannah's neck of the woods, just send it. Go ask Hannah for some business to send it to.
Well, yeah, just go up to her on the street because everybody in Australia lives together.
We're all on the same. It's just one big street, actually.
If you watch Harry Potter in Australia, that's instead of owls, they use pelicans. That's the official the Australian version of Harry Potter is carry your pelicans.
Carry your pelicans. Oh man!
And if you're in Canada, ask Dominic for his PO box.
Yeah. Just
so you don't have to send it across the border.
Wander up to me. It'll be fun.
Tie it to a moose.
Yeah, I was trying to. I couldn't think of a Canadian
yeah,
bird.
me too.
A loon.
Yeah,
get a
do you
loon.
have many birds there?
A loon, like a loony.
What about
but
the
a loon.
Canada
Like
goose.
Ben.
the
Oh,
most
Canada
famous-
geese. Yes, that's right.
Wait. The
Canada
A
geese?
Canada geese.
A Canada geese or a Canada
Canada
goose.
geese.
The many
think you
Canada
have to-
gooses.
Geese
You have
eye.
to pin it to a goose, and then the goose will try to
Yeah.
kill you because that's what they do.
Yeah, you have to fight the goose first. And
Fight
then-
the goose.
yeah. And if
what-
you
what the
win,
hell would
it
you
could-
do?
that, man.
if you win, it submits to you and goes, "Yes, attach your letters to my wings, and I will fly them to whoever needs them."
Why is this so complicated?
One last question from the Discord from Kylo10. I'm
Finally,
assuming
a
that's
real
spelled
question.
right. Yeah, I'm assuming this is spelled right too.
No,
Kylo10,
it's actually
so-
supposed to be Kylo Ten.
Yeah, like that's what I thought. No, it's like Ben 10. Why isn't it just Ben 10? Because Kylo is Ben.
That's
Anyway.
another bet
It
that we could.
rhymes. It rhymes. Kylo Ren, Kylo 10.
Now
Ben
we're just
10 also rhymes.
You know what? I feel like her birthday, we are friends on Twitter. I feel like her birthday is the 10th of August. I
Oh.
feel like maybe that's why it's 10. Because I keep seeing a tweet that she really wants Ahsoka to come out on her birthday.
August
that
is
makes
August is a
sense.
good month for
you go.
birthdays.
Hmm?
It's a good month for it.
It's a good time. Anyway,
Kylo
what the
10
hell is
asks, would you guys like to see Din and Grogu and Ahsoka, or would you rather they stayed out of it?
I would like to see minimum 4 episodes about
Oh
them.
my god.
Minimum 4 episodes. And I don't want Ahsoka to
boy.
be in them like at all. She can be in like one of them, but not say anything.
If it makes sense for the story, yes. If it's gonna like completely be an aside, I don't really know why they would do that. But like if it makes sense, if they need to team up for something and like they need each other, like why not?
I want them to show up in like the epilogue.
Yeah, that makes
Like
sense.
like go on the adventure,
Yeah.
find Ezra, battle Thrawn, and come back. And Ahsoka has a meeting with them and's like, there's troubles a brewing out in the unknown regions. We got to do something about it. And maybe you don't know who she's talking to, and the camera flips around and it's Din and Grogu just goes, "Brrr," and Din goes, "This is the way," and then the season ends. And then we iris out and hold the iris for some reason on a random character, and then finish out.
yeah.
What if it coincides? Hang on.
Hannah's
Does this
having
work?
an
I don't know.
idea.
It's brewing. What if it coincides with the timeline of The Mandalorian of season 3, and like Ahsoka goes to the little New Republic ranch where Zeb and Carson Teva was, and like as Ahsoka's like walking in, Mando is like walking out to do the Mandalorian mission, and you're like, oh, they're about to go to Mandalore, and you like know what time it is. Oh, I
Wow.
love that.
That would be really funny.
They're like high five on their way out. Oh, hey man, hope you're doing well.
It's like a scene out of like one of the Family Guy parodies.
Yes, it would be like that. Yes.
Oh, something.
I just feel like at some point they really ruined it with Book of Boba Fett, like all the jokes and stuff like that. Like it's just it's like at this point, like these shows got to stand on their own. Like not every character has to show up in every show. And I think the best thing they could do is just not have them show up at all. Just names, and also give us a break, have us feel something, and not seeing Din and Grogu, all the time. Give us a break from those characters. I love those characters, but let them just go away for a little bit so it feels special when they come back, because we haven't really had a break from them, not even from their own show.
They can come back, but only if it's to fight a dragon monster. It's the only acceptable reason to bring them back, and that has to be the entire episode, and nothing else of value can happen in that storyline. That's my feeling on it. All right, did we answer all the questions?
That is everything. Thank you guys so much for leaving the questions on Discord. Again, to do that, just join our Discord server. The link is in the description of this video and all the podcasts on all the different feeds. And then you can find the Ask SWU section over there. And if you watch live, super chats are greatly appreciated as well. And that's not just it for that segment. That is it for the show.
I was about to ask where the music was.
I know.
There it is.
I'm like,
Nice.
I need to cue. I usually don't cue the outro of the show.
Yeah.
This is a new thing, and I can do it. I know how. I've been here learning how to do this. So thank you everybody so much for watching on YouTube. Thank you for listening.
It was
on
like the
your
Muppets,
podcast
Hannah.
app.
Mana.
That's a throwback. Those if anyone's seen those like ancient photos of people modeling Star Wars Underworld shirts, that was what was happening the entire time while we were doing that photo shoot. Was just the mana. That's what they were saying the entire
What the
time.
hell?
I just unlocked a memory.
I think I said that at some point to Ben. I'm like, Ben, look at what was happening. Look at the shenanigans that were going on during the shoot that I also captured by video. It was someone else.
Just unlocking core memories here.
That was 10 years ago, y'all. What? Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. At the SWU is where you can find us on social media throughout the week. Dominic, thank you so much for hosting.
Oh, it was my pleasure as always. This was great fun. As I said off the top, it was great to be back for this week and this week only. I will be off again next week, doing stuff, living life, but I'll be back. And when I'm back, maybe not the first week I'm back, but possibly I may not be floating in front of a nebulous green screen anymore.
Oh, yes.
There may be more to it.
Yes.
Ooh.
Teasers for the future of the podcast and just my life. So yeah, have a great show, everybody, next week. It's been a blast to be back, and I can't wait to see everybody again in 2 weeks' time.
Fantastic. And Ben, thank you so much for hosting as well.
Oh yeah, this was an absolute pleasure, and can't wait for next week. And I don't know what's gonna happen. Genuinely, like I will be totally honest with you. We've been so light on Star Wars news lately. Like the whole point of the Indie Underground is just they don't have something to post because there hasn't been much Star Wars happening lately. So watch out for maybe we'll just do an indie episode next week. I don't know. We'll think of something. But this was fun. And tune in between for that great interview with Misty Rosas, the full thing on our YouTube channel. Don't forget to check it out.
Yep.
And you can follow. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention Dominic. You can follow Dominic on social media at Dominic25, and you can follow Ben at social media at Ben Hart with no E. Y'all.
My name is Hannah. I had a really great show today. I had really a lot of fun here today.
Yes, Hannah. Thank you so much for hosting as well.
Oh, good times. Good times. Jon Favreau. I can't remember a single thing else we talked about today. It's a little light on Star Wars stuff, isn't it? Oh, well. I'm sure we'll be, thinking back. Well, you know what? We had the first half of the year was, so stressful of trying to cover the 2 shows running at the same time, celebration happening, all those wild things going on. So, this is our nice little break before we get into Ahsoka. So, it's a good time. But thanks for having me.
Kathleen Kennedy, you could have a break as a treat. She has the Riz now.
She has the Riz. Oh.
Oh my goodness. And at the Raeside is where you can follow Hannah on social media. That is also the name of her YouTube channel. And that is spelled the R-A-E side. Check it out. Thank you so much for everybody who super chatted and supported us that way. We also greatly appreciate our channel members for helping keep the lights on. We appreciate everybody leaving us a review on your favorite podcast apps. Make sure you join the SW Network Discord. And make sure to check out all the other shows on the Star Wars Underworld Network, the Raeside, Iron Cannon, and Tales from Beyond the Galaxy. that's it. We'll be back next week. Until then, for Dominic and Ben and Hannah, my name is Chris, and may the Force be with you. Meat's back on the menu, boys.
It's a wrap.
What about a second podcast?